Welcome to Serenity and Fire, the podcast where wellness meets grit. I'm your host, Krista Guidenti, founder of Panacea Luxury Spa Boutique. Join me as we dive into the intriguing world of biohacking, clean living, cutting-edge spa trends, and the hustle, grind, and grit of entrepreneurship. From my personal battles with weight management, infertility, and a 30-year journey to create and launch my dream business, to building a sanctuary for those who have been touched by cancer, I'm here to share real talk, inspire big dreams, and spark a passion for holistic living inside each and every one of you. So let's dive in. Welcome back to Serenity and Fire, and welcome to the final episode in my sugar series. For the last 4 episodes, I've talked about sugar from every angle, what it does to your glucose and insulin, how sweetness alone can keep the reward loop activated, especially when those sweeteners are 0-calorie sweeteners. We also talked about why cravings are not a willpower failure and why fat loss can feel blocked even when you're doing everything right. Today, we're bringing it all together because at some point, education has to turn into application. Information without integration doesn't change anything. It's like in business. You can go through all the seminars, the trade shows, have tons of company strategy meetings, read book after book, and take tons of business classes. But if you don't implement and execute all of the things that you learn, what's the point? But it's in the application of all that information that a lot of people start to get confused. So today, we're bringing it all together, and we're going to talk about how to know when you're actually hungry, how carbohydrates can fit into your diet without chaos, how sugar affects your brain health, why women and kids experience sugar differently, and how willpower and physiology are meant to work together. There's a lot to unpack, and my hope is that by the end of this sugar masterclass, you can stop bouncing between experts, trends, and extremes and start making decisions that actually make sense for your body. First, one of the most important skills you can develop is learning to tell the difference between true hunger and false hunger. True hunger builds gradually. It feels calm, it's not urgent, and it's satisfied by a variety of foods. False hunger, on the other hand, hits suddenly. It feels intense, urgent, and it can also feel emotional. It often demands sugar or refined carbs and can come with shakiness, irritability, brain fog, and even anxiety. False hunger is often a glucose crash masquerading as hunger. And this is where awareness really gives you power. Now, instead of reacting to it in the wrong way by binge eating or eating when your body doesn't really need it, or even just simply ignoring that hunger, now you know how to interpret it correctly so you can respond correctly and give your body and your brain what it needs. Which leads me into carbohydrates. Can we have carbs without causing complete metabolic chaos? For me, carbohydrates are the one thing that I always tend to grab for whenever I'm feeling any kind of emotion. Sadness, when I'm stressed out, when I'm hungover, you name it, carbs are my go-to. And carbs are also the one thing that I will always tend to overindulge in. I mean, who doesn't want to eat a whole box of chocolates or the whole container of ice cream or even a giant bowl of macaroni and cheese? I know I definitely do. And knowing all of that, you have to understand that carbs are not the enemy, as long as your timing, your pairing, and your frequency are top of mind. So think of these things when you're getting ready to grab for carbohydrates. Carbs are best tolerated by your body after movement. So after you exercise, after you go for a walk, ride a bike, any of those kinds of things. They're also best when paired with protein and fat. So before you grab for those French fries, always grab the protein first. And I know my health coach has always encouraged me to try to sandwich the carbohydrates in between your proteins and your fat. The other time when carbohydrates are better tolerated is when stress and sleep are in a good place. If stress and sleep are not in a good place, this is when you tend to overindulge. And remember, at the end of the day, carbohydrates are a form of sugar. So if we have too much, we know what happens. Problems really arise when carbohydrates are constant and when they're isolated, meaning you're eating them without the proteins and fat, when they're sweetened, and when they're used as emotional or stress relief, which I know I personally have done in the past and still do on occasion. So I'm sure that that's something that a lot of you also struggle with. Metabolic flexibility means you can enjoy carbs without being controlled by them and allowing them to control your appetite, your mood, and your energy. Sugar doesn't just affect your waistline, it also affects the brain. Repeated glucose spikes can dysregulate dopamine, impair impulse control, worsen anxiety, and impact your focus and mood. And this is especially important for children and teens. Also, women in hormonal transitions, and anyone with anxiety, depression, or ADHD-like symptoms. A stable brain requires fuel. This is why reducing sugar often improves mental clarity even before you start seeing any weight changes. But when we look at women experience sugar differently, especially when they're in perimenopause or menopause. As estrogen declines, our insulin sensitivity worsens, our glucose variability decreases, our sleep becomes fragile, and our cravings intensify. And this is why extreme fasting or aggressive restriction can backfire for a lot of women. Just another great thing about getting older. So gentle insulin lowering plus nourishment plus consistency is going to be much better than any kind of extremes. And when we look at kids, we need to remember that they're not small adults. Frequent sugar exposure in kids trains their reward system early. It disrupts appetite regulation. It affects their mood and their focus. And it normalizes constant snacking. And all of this sets up their eating behaviors and the challenges that they could have later in life with poor eating habits, metabolic issues, etc. But this isn't about perfection. It's about rhythm. It's about being aware and mindful of how sugar and snacking affects the body and the brain so you can make healthy changes for your kids that will have lifelong impacts. So think meals, proteins, real foods, not processed foods, and less sweetness as much as you can, because all of these things do really matter, not just now, but for their long-term health. And since our deeper core mission at Panacea is in oncology therapeutics, I wanted to just briefly talk about sugar's role in cancer. What you really need to know is that sugar does not cause cancer, but many cancer cells do rely heavily on glucose and they thrive in high insulin environments. This is why metabolic health matters. In someone who is predispositioned for cancer or who maybe has cancer, just remember that sugars and sweeteners are going to be the things that your cancer cells feed off of. So this is the end of our sugar series. Next week, I'm going to go deeper into fasting, how it all plays a role in this sugar, insulin, glucose story, and how to start creating healthy patterns and routines that bring you to true metabolic flexibility and healing. Everything we talked about in this sugar series was a lot, I know it, but I loved sharing all of this information with you because if it can help you as much as it has helped me, and all of this can save you half as much time, headache, and frustration as I've had to go through over the years just trying to figure all of this out, then I will have made a meaningful difference for you and so many others. So please message me and let me know if any of this helped you. In closing, I want to say that if there's one thing I hope you take from this series, it's this. Your body isn't broken. It's responding to signals. And when you change the signals, whether that's sweetness, frequency, stress, insulin, whatever it is, everything else starts to change too. It probably isn't going to happen overnight. I know it definitely didn't for me. And it may even take months or years to get your metabolic health where you really want it. But you can do this, and you can do it in a way that's sustainable. I believe that. As always, please remember that everything shared on Serenity and Fire is meant for general information and inspiration purposes only. The topics we discuss are not intended to diagnose, treat, or replace personalized medical care. So please always consult with your healthcare provider before trying anything we talk about on the show. Your health is unique, and your care should be too. Thank you so much for listening to Serenity and Fire. Please further support the show by following us, leaving a review, and connecting with me on social at Serenity and Fire. Until next time, keep balancing serenity with fire. I'm Krista Guageni, and I'll talk with you more in our next episode. At Panacea Luxury Spa Boutique, we don't just offer traditional spa treatments. We create rituals that relax your mind, restore your health, and rejuvenate your spirit. From biohacking technologies to advanced oncology-trained care, everything we do is designed to help you heal on the deepest level with clean, holistic therapies, products, and amenities that are second to none. And right now, you can experience two of my favorites, our whole body LED light bed or hyperbaric oxygen therapies. And as a thank you for listening, you'll get 10% off your first session when you use the code Serenity10 at booking. What is your panacea? Let us help you find it, because true wellness isn't a quick fix, it's a ritual.